Courtesy of demand, today we are going to be comparing two saloons that are not typically competitors. One is a big B segment saloon. It's a subcompact vehicle, but it's quite spacious, almost as spacious as a compact vehicle. I'm referring to the Honda Grace, which is ideally a saloon version of the Honda Fit. So much is shared between the two cars, from the platform to the engine options, transmissions, and much more. The other vehicle is the Mazda Axela, the saloon version. It's a compact saloon, meaning it's one segment above the Honda Grace, which, as I've just said, is a subcompact saloon, but in terms of space, they are almost neck and neck. The Grace has a wheelbase of 2600 millimeters, while the Axela has a 2700 millimeter wheelbase. So there's a difference of only 100 millimeters. For those who may not know, the wheelbase is the space between the front and back wheels or axles. And this is what dictates how spacious a vehicle will be. Now, in terms of space packaging, Honda are among the best, if not absolute best in the industry. So whatever magic they did with this Honda Grace, it really worked because it's just as spacious or slightly better than the bigger Axela. So apart from space, which other aspects would help you to draw a line between these two saloons? Which one is more efficient? Which one is more reliable? Which one will exceed your expectations? Which is the overall better car? That's what we are here to find out today in this particular episode, so please stay tuned. Do consider subscribing to the channel for more informative content on cars and bikes. Apart from informative content, we also offer car consultation, independent in-depth reviews, and sourcing of new as well as used cars. I really appreciate your continued support. Keep sharing and subscribing. Let's make this community even larger. Let's keep helping out each other on car and bike matters. What unites us is our passion for cars and bikes. Welcome to iCave Auto Reviews. So we will be comparing the 2017 models. The 2017 Honda Grace is the 7th generation, which was in production from 2014 till 2020, while the 2017 Axela is the 3rd generation, which was in production from 2013 till 2018. So first things first, let's begin with the most important aspect, which is the engine options. What is at the heart of these two Japanese saloons? The Honda Grace comes with two options, both of which are 1500cc, with one being a hybrid. This car is available in either front or all-wheel drive, and as for the transmission options, there is either a rear 5 or 6-speed manual, which you can only get in the non-hybrid. The other option is a CVT, which again you can only get in the non-hybrid. Lastly, there is a 7-speed DCT, which is exclusive to the hybrid variant. Now, in terms of power, the non-hybrid produces around 110 horsepower, which is actually sufficient considering the power-to-weight ratio. This is a light car, so 110 horsepower is decent enough for daily commutes and even long journeys. The hybrid is even better. It has a combined power output of 130 horsepower, that is from both the engine and electric motor. It strikes a very good balance between power and efficiency. Now, reliability-wise, Honda scores quite highly. The non-hybrid is just bulletproof, very reliable with almost no major issues reported so far, and that is to be expected considering this power plant is the exact same one as the one in the Honda Fit. The hybrid variant is also reliable for the most part, though there have been a few issues to do with the dual clutch. Remember, this is the same dual clutch that has also been used in the Fit hybrid, and some of the issues which have plagued it are jerky gear changes and even complete failure. So it's important to keep that in mind. DCTs are a bit more complex, and with time and high mileage, chances of issues cropping up may be high. So if you are to go for the hybrid, make sure you go for a low mileage one for two reasons. One is the hybrid batteries. The lower the mileage, the better, because you'll still have a lot of battery life left before you may need to replace them. Generally, these batteries last between 10 to around 15 years, depending on the usage. If you tend to drive very frequently on EV mode, then the batteries may not last that much. The second reason why it's important to get a low mileage Honda Grace hybrid is because of that DCT. As I've just said, with the complexity of that transmission, there may be chances of issues developing, especially with high mileage. In fact, there have even been cases of issues developing in low mileage vehicles. I really wish Honda would have just retained the CVT in their hybrids. I understand they opted for the DCT to improve on the driving dynamics, but now it has slightly compromised on the reliability. Now, how efficient are these engines? The non-hybrid can attain around 16 kilometers per liter, while the hybrid between 18 to around 25 kilometers per liter, or slightly more depending on your driving style. So generally, both engines are quite efficient, yet also decently powerful enough. Let's move on to the Axela. There are 6 engine options. Yes, whopping 6 options. The most common ones in the Kenyan market are the 1500cc and 2000cc petrol, but you can also get a 1600cc, a 2000cc hybrid, which is actually the same engine as in the Toyota Prius. Then as for the diesels, there's either a 1.5 liter turbo, which is the same one as the one in the Mazda Demio, and lastly there's the 2200cc turbo. Now let's move a bit slowly to avoid any confusion. The 1.5 liter produces 111 horsepower, the 1.6 around 105 horsepower. Yes, it's a slightly bigger engine than the 1.5, yet it produces slightly less power. It's sort of detuned. The 2 liter churns out 120 horsepower, then the 1.5 liter turbo around 103 horsepower, and lastly the 2.2 liter about 150 horsepower, which is actually the most powerful. It's a very torque engine which is good for around 380 Newton meters of torque, and this particular engine is available with the option of all-wheel drive. Mazda calls the system I-Active all-wheel drive system, which was made available as from 2016. It's generally an impressive combination which gives good torque, a proper conventional automatic gearbox, as well as the all-wheel drive system. This is among the most engaging mainstream compact saloons in the market currently. The body control and response are on another level. These engines can come coupled to either of the 3 transmission options available: a 6-speed manual, a 6-speed automatic, or an ECVT, exclusively for the hybrid variant. Reliability wise, your best bet is either the 1.5 liter, 1.6 liter, which is a bit rare, or the 2.0 liter. The hybrid is also reliable, especially being that it's ideally a Toyota Prius, but it's quite rare. Then there's also the issue about expensive hybrid battery replacement. In fact, considering how rare it is, it's quite unlikely that you will come across it. And again, why go for it when you can get the 1.5 liter diesel that is decently powerful, yet also almost just as efficient as the hybrid? If you need even more power and torque, the 2.2 liter turbo diesel will more than exceed your expectations. Now, how reliable are these diesels? Generally, they are sensitive, and poor maintenance will only add insult to injury. It's important to have a proficient mechanic or someone who understands these diesels so that you can be guided throughout your ownership. If you don't understand the do's and don'ts of these modern diesel engines, they can be reliable only if you take very good care of them. That said, the 1.5 liter turbo diesel is a bit better in terms of reliability. It doesn't have the inherent overheating issues that have plagued the 2200cc turbo diesel. I have seen a few of these 2.2 liter with issues. In fact, some have even died completely and ended up forcing the owners to just buy new engines. And that's why I say again, it's risky to just go for these diesel options if you don't have any knowledge on how to maintain them. At least seek some guidance and help. I did a video on Mazda diesel engine maintenance some time back. Feel free to check it out. I'll leave a link to that video in the description box. I covered quite a number of issues to watch out for, as well as the do's and don'ts of these engines. Efficiency wise, the 1.5 liter petrol can do up to about 17 kilometers per liter, the 1.6 around 16 kilometers per liter, the 2.2 around 14 kilometers per liter, the hybrid up to about 25 kilometers per liter, the 1.5 liter diesel between 15 to an impressive 22 kilometers per liter. That is very good for an unhybrid. And last but not least, the 2.2 liter between 14 to around 20 kilometers per liter. The Honda Grace has a 40-liter fuel tank capacity, while the Axela has a larger 51-liter tank. The ground clearance measures 135 and 155 millimeters for the Grace and Axela respectively. They both fall below the recommended 165 millimeter clearance, but as I always say, the best bet is installing slightly larger wheels, and you will have sorted out the issue without interfering with the handling of the vehicle. Modifying the suspension is what generally interferes with the vehicle's handling. Stopping power is made possible by ventilated discs at the front in both cars, while at the back the Honda Grace gets drums and the Axela gets solid discs for that extra stronger bite, which reduces the stopping distance. Drums in the Honda Grace also work quite well, especially being that it's a light car. As for the suspension, both vehicles get McPherson struts at the front, while at the back the Honda Grace gets a torsion bar setup and Axela gets a spring multi-link setup. They are generally good at absorbing road undulations, though the ride in the Honda Grace is very slightly firm, not firm in an uncomfortable way, but a bit firm when compared to the ride in the Mazda Axela. Safety-wise, the Honda Grace gets driver and passenger airbags, ABS, EBD, ESP, traction control, and hill assist. All these are standard. Then the optional features depending on the trim level are side and curtain airbags, as well as collision mitigation. So it's only the higher trim levels that are safer in terms of the number of airbags, as well as the active driver assist safety features, such as the collision mitigation. The Mazda Axela is better in terms of safety. The standard features are driver, passenger, side and curtain airbags, ABS, EBD, brake assist, ESP, hill start assist, and even collision mitigation. The only optional safety feature is blind spot detection, so generally it's a safer vehicle. The car weight of the Honda Grace ranges between 1029 to 1180 kgs, while that of the Axela between 1300 to 1315 kgs. Lastly, some of the extra features you can get in these vehicles depending on the trim level include cruise control, sunroof, steering mounted audio controls, leather interior, lip spoiler, fog lights, LED projector headlights, and sportier alloy wheels. In addition to this, the Mazda Axela can add a heads-up display, an MZD Connect, a premium Bose audio system, and an electronic parking brake. It's also important to note that even though the Axela comes well kitted with impressive features, it misses out on things like rear AC vents, which the Honda Grace offers as standard. Now, with all that said, how much do these vehicles cost? 2016 and 2017 models of the Honda Grace will set you back between 1.55 to around 1.7, 1.8ish million depending on the trim level and mileage, while 2017 models of the Axela are going for between 1.65 to a maximum of around 2 million, 2.1ish million, but generally with around 1.85 million, you can get a mid-spec, low-mileage Axela. It's only the high-spec ones that can hit the 2 million mark. Now, before we wrap up by talking about value for money and giving my recommendation, let's also look into this car's exteriors and interiors, as well as their pros and cons. Which one do you prefer in terms of the exterior design? Do let me know in the comment section. Personally, I would pick the Honda Grace. The Axela certainly looks better, more sporty and appealing, but I tend to be more inclined towards the simplicity and elegance of the Honda Grace, especially variants with larger alloy wheels, shark fin antenna, and deck lid spoiler. Moving into their interiors, the same simplicity on the Grace's exterior is mirrored into the interior. The dash design is very basic, functional, and logical. Everything is laid out and located where you would typically expect them to be. One minor complaint is the touch-sensitive AC controls, which can be a bit challenging to use when driving, but apart from that, the seats are comfortable enough. At the back, the space is surprisingly good. 3 adults of average height can be accommodated back there comfortably, even on longer journeys. Hondas are really good at creating spacious cabins. In fact, looking at this car from the exterior, you wouldn't know it packs in some good space and practicality. Even the boot is quite spacious. A family of 4 or 5 will find this car spacious enough despite it being a subcompact saloon. Moving on to the Mazda Axela, it has a really premium interior. The build quality is very good, from the materials on the dash, the layout, to the tactile feel of the knobs and buttons. The seats are very comfortable and accommodative. It's generally a pleasant place where you will enjoy spending time. It's definitely better than the Grace in that regard. At the back, the space is ample, though the Honda Grace is very slightly more spacious. The seats are again supportive, and there's even an armrest with two cup holders, just like in the Honda Grace. The boot is decent enough to hold two large suitcases plus some more items, so generally not bad at all. On to their pros and cons, beginning with the pros. The Honda Grace is a spacious, efficient, and reliable car that is also very affordable to maintain, especially being that it shares quite a lot with the Honda Fit as well as other Hondas. So parts are shared across the board, and even finding them is easy. It also has good resale value. Generally, the resale value of most Hondas has gone up over the past few years. On to its weaknesses, it has low ground clearance, but as I said earlier, this is something that can be easily mitigated. Another con is the already mentioned DCT issues on the hybrid variants. Then on the same hybrids, there's also the issue of expensive battery replacement. Lastly, this car is relatively new in the Kenyan market, so the body parts can be a bit difficult to get and are also expensive. So keep that in mind, though this will change with time. The Mazda Axela, on the other hand, boasts of premium build quality, good looks, good efficiency, as well as good driving dynamics thanks to the Sky Active technology. It's also very reliable, especially the petrol options, and the resale value is good enough. On to its weaknesses, just like in the Honda Grace, it has low ground clearance. Then the hybrid variants also have the inherent expensive battery replacement issue. Another issue is to do with the electronic parking brake, which can at times fail to disengage, or it may in fact disengage but still indicate that it is engaged on the instrument cluster. These are just some of the issues that come with all this too much electronic stuff in modern vehicles, and we can't run away from it because technology keeps evolving. The last issue is to do with the sensitivity of the diesel options, as we had discussed earlier. So now, with all that said, which one should you go for? This one is quite tricky because both vehicles are seriously good. I have often heard of people say that Mazdas are now becoming Kenya school uniform. They are becoming too common. That's how good they are. But if you prefer going for something different, then the Honda Grace is a very good alternative. In fact, it offers very good value for money, in the sense that it's more affordable than the Axela, yet it's still very spacious, efficient, and affordable to maintain. On the other hand, if you don't mind putting on the Kenya school uniform and blending into the crowd, then get the Mazda Axela. It's a bit more expensive, but the build quality is impressive. It has the looks, it's feature loaded, and also drives quite well. I would say the Honda Grace appeals to simple people who just want functionality and a bit of maturity, but the Axela, on the other hand, appeals to younger people who are more inclined towards style, premiumness, and an engaging drive. So both cars are very good, but they appeal to slightly different clientele. Which one would you prefer? Let me know in the comments section. My personal pick would be the Honda Grace. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks a lot for watching. As always, if you have any enquiries, feel free to reach me via WhatsApp or email. That's it for this particular episode. Please subscribe before you go. It's one of the ways in which you can support the channel, and I really appreciate it. See you in the next one, but until then, drive safe, ride safe, and be blessed.